Okay.
I am now.
Yeah, that's fine. I can live with that.
That's fine. I mean, we always have little bloopy bloops in the moment in the beginning anyway, so it's fine.
I mean, I feel like that's what our whole relationship is just like one running like blooper slash gag reel.
Yeah, seriously. It's like a gag reel that turns into an episode. Like it's just that's where it goes.
Uh,
Oh. This is our show and not yours. This is actually our show. Wow. Look at us.
full circle, baby. Full
Full
circle.
circle, baby. I hate it so much.
And you can I literally had to like position myself so you could see all my plants.
I should have brought my basil plant up so I could just have just a basil plant. I don't even have a drink. Hello?
Welcome back to the Hideaway.
This is Kelly's channel now.
Usurp it. Be it.
I don't know why it's so embarrassing now that there's someone with me.
If it makes you feel any better, the embarrassment on my level, very deep.
It's cavernous. It just keeps going.
A fucking hole of embarrassment. The depths know no bounds.
I am just a hole.
Well, I'm actually 3 holes, maybe? 3 usable.
Yeah. I was like, some of mine aren't usable. Well, we don't need to talk about that today. Let's talk about death.
Yes.
Okay.
The overwhelming feeling of suicide.
Yay. Hi guys, welcome back to the Hideaway. It's still me, Douglas, and today we have my very special guest and friend, Kelly. There should be applause there, but there's none. There's no applause. But today we're going to be talking about the piece that we wrote together called Fisticuff Fools. I love this piece a lot, and I don't know. I've never written with someone like this before, so it was very interesting to see how it went. And I love it.
A weird stream of consciousness that weirdly worked out.
Yeah, because I really because I think it was you that like you came up with the idea of courage versus death, and as soon as you said that, I was like, well, I have to be death. Like obviously, like I need to write from his perspective.
It's like I'm the one that's like desperately trying to be too perky and claw my way out, and then you're just like, I'm in a pit of sadness, and I'm just going to sit in it, and that's fine. And I'm the exact opposite. Like, psh, it's not fine.
It's not fine. Get therapy. Get help.
Yeah, like that's my entire purpose.
Right. Exactly. So I know that usually I'll like break down like line by line, but like I feel like we can just talk about like since it's like obviously you wrote 2 sections and I wrote 2 sections, so it's like I feel like we just talk about like you know where we were coming from and like I feel like we can like comment on each other's parts and like see how that goes. This is very informal, like it's because again it's a very different setup, obviously to what I've done before. So
yes, it's like being independent and now a couplet.
A couplet.
Yes.
Are we Romeo and Juliet? That's us.
That feels a little too traumatic for me. A little too toxic.
I mean,
I've had therapy now. I'm good without those kinds of relationships in my life.
We don't need it. We'll go to 12th night instead.
Oy.
Alrighty. So yeah, you do kick off the poem, Kelly, which is awesome. You kick it off.
Yeah.
Roar, literally.
Yeah. I guess the roar and alarm clock, same thing. Yes. I guess that's what wakes you up, but you know, symbolism. I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things, just having my own experience of being like suicidal. And it's a little weird because you know you don't want to get locked up in the psychiatric unit for saying too many things to your therapist, but it's like knowing that I was like there, that like that thought was there and I got deep into that. It's like I'm fine now. I'm on the right medication. I'm in therapy. Like we're moving past it, which is really good. But it's just I know it's there. He just kind of sits over my shoulder and it's like I know that there's a point it's like I'm completely capable of feeling that way again, which is utterly terrifying because it's like I absolutely know I don't want to feel that way again. Like who would want that? It's like I love my life. I want to be alive. Like I'm happy where I'm at. But it's like it's just it's there and so it really is like it's everyday work. It's not something I can just like go through my life and not think about. It's always there.
Yeah.
In the quiet moments, it's there.
Yeah. And I've talked about it before on this channel a million times, but like me and you are very similar in this way, except I'm not in therapy yet. We're working on it. This is my therapy. This is my therapy session. You didn't know you're my therapist now? um, but no, yeah, it's always going to be there. So like I always tell people, like, not actively suicidal. Like I'm not looking for ways to kill myself anymore. But like it's there, like it's buried deep in there. Cause it's like it doesn't just go away. Like even after years, like it's literally a constant fight.
Yeah.
And
It's insane to think about like the work, like everybody always talks about like, you have to do the work in therapy and it takes a long time to like unpack like trauma and all this stuff and why you feel that way. But like at the very root of it, just like just not wanting to be there, like saying like, all right, I'm tapping out, like this is just too much. It's like that in itself is so hard to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna talk it out with the therapist and like I'm gonna do some internal work and I'm good. And it just to me it feels like it's just always going to be there. Like every day, this is what I have to do until I literally like die. Like
yeah.
this is it, which is, time heals all wounds. But maybe like the man over my shoulder, and absolutely a man because
Absolutely. A white man.
a white man.
Man.
But yeah, so it's like the man over my shoulder, maybe he'll step farther back the older I get and the more that I've like progressed and grown up and things, but like he's always there. I just never anticipate that it's gonna go away, which is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like the moment you say it's going to go away, like I feel like you're like, and not to be like superstitious, but like I feel like the moment you're like, oh, he's going to go away forever, he's going to like, you're like subconsciously like kind of bring it back. Like you're allowing it to like be like, oh, we said it was gone, but it's like, no, I'm still here. Like he's always going to be there, whether he's like 10 feet back or like 6 inches away from you. He's always there. It's just a matter of like how much power we actually allow him to have.
Yeah, and that's oh my gosh, like the last few lines of the section you wrote, which like closes out the poem. Like I'm no sore loser, I bow my head in respect. Just know everyone comes back to me in the end, which is like twofold. Like you can look at it two different ways. Like
Yeah.
death is always there. Like he is death. It's not just like suicidal man. It's death. So it's like, it's either the actual logical end of your life, you're an old person and it happens, or you get hit by a car. But it's like you're either going to do that, but it's like twofold. It's like, everybody comes back to me then, like you're going to have those thoughts again. It's going to come back. There's no escaping it because you're going to let your guard down at some point. So it's like it's a weirdly like beautiful, scary notion that it's like my time's going to come one day, but also it's like, well, maybe I'm accidentally going to like think myself into a hole and my time's going to come way earlier. It's just this weird amalgamation of all of those things.
I felt really, I when I wrote that line, I was writing from like, again, like this like things like perspectives, or was like, I kind of wrote him as like a petulant child. He's like kind of sick of it. He's like, oh, you said you wanted to die, but now you don't. Well, now you're wasting my time. And so like, it was really supposed to be like something petty for him to say. But again, it's like, he's like, we'll meet again one day. It's fine. I could take this loss for now. But again, it's like, it's very that, because like one way or another, we're all getting there. Like,
yeah.
That's the end of the road. That's the end of the road.
It's like, I guess like that kind of like thought process probably makes it makes like the courage and like the ability to like go through every day. Like that makes it so much stronger. It's like, you're the petulant little child and I'm, like I'm rising above, like, I am Michelle Obama, like they're going to go low. So I'm going high.
Go higher.
Like go higher. I am Michelle. So I'm going to go high and, death's going to stay low and they're going to be petulant. And that makes you feel better. It's like, well, if I can do this, and it's like, haha, like they're going to be petty and they're going to be butthurt and they're going to be sad. And so like that makes you feel better about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, I agree with that, because that's really where I wanted to go with that. I do like a lot of your, in the second section, you have, and I did this on purpose too, because you wrote, my opponent wrapped around my shoulders, an embracement to elude my judgment. I love that line so much. Because again, it brings like a physical aspect to, like when you feel these thoughts, it really does feel like the weight of like the world is like just pushing down on you. So it really does feel like a feeling. And then to like give it a body and to give it a personality, it's just like,
Yeah, and it's just one of those, and like what I mean, like, like an embracement to elude my judgment, which is like my better judgment is like, I deserve to be here. Like, I deserve to take up all the space in the world. Like, I deserve to have a happy life with my husband and my child and my dogs and my friends and my family. Like, I deserve all of those things. But this thought of like, you don't have to deal with all the icky bits, like all the stress and all the worry and all the trauma that you're trying to like unpack. Because going through therapy, it's like you're just like digging out all of the stuff that you didn't really think was there. And then it's like, wow, I just feel worse because you have to like go through the mud before you come out. And
yeah,
like, this embrace of like, oh, like it could just all be over and I could just be done with it. Shake my
easy
hand.
peasy.
And it's like and it's a moment where, we're told not to be selfish, but in some instances, it's important to be selfish to take care of yourself. And so you're like, well, I'm going to be selfish. I don't care how this is going to affect anybody else. And then, and that's what that is. It's like a hug of like it's all over. Like it's going to, it feels like it's going to be okay. And you really have to like wrestle your way out of that, which is so much harder than anybody ever thinks it is.
Yeah. I don't know if you have, did you ever watch Big Mouth?
Excellent. Love it. Nick Kroll is literally daddy.
Same.
Oh,
Love John Mulaney still, but yes, I agree. But
he's still
Depression Kitty. I always think of Depression Kitty. Like that show does, they touch on topics very well, but like Depression Kitty was the one that hit me a little too hard because she's like, no, we can just lie in bed. I'm gonna be a big weighted blanket on top of you, and we're gonna be fine here. Not happy. We're just gonna be fine.
the crazy part about like Depression Kitty, and it was one of those like you don't notice it until you notice it, where it's like it's like, ooh, it feels good at first, and it feels great to like have like this big weight of just like, ugh, I don't care, I don't want to do it, I don't want to be here anymore. But then like Jesse coming to realize like, no, like this hurts, like I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
And that in itself, to recognize that feeling is absolutely like a courageous act, just to like be like, no, 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 not today. I'm good. I would like to like live and breathe another day.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know.
Ooh,
It's like there's just so many good lines. It's hard to like be like, okay, like let's talk about this specific one.
I know that one just like that's why I alluded it in my next section, because I was like, I have to reference that because again, like you're giving this voice to this thing, and like I think it's kind of fun to be like, oh, this is like the burden that's like weighing me down is like this creeping death, is it's still haunting me, but like I'm giving it the voice of this like petulant child to like bring it beneath myself.
Yeah.
It's just,
and I think that's what, again, like the whole petulant child idea is like it makes it easier. But I think the best line that I wrote, and it's like one of those, like when I wrote it, it was like, yeah, no, that hits the nail on the head. Like that feels really good. Like it was just something that resonated with me, and I think could resonate with anybody that's kind of been there, which is, um like deep in my chest, I can't find the want to thrive, not yet. But what if I could just survive? And I think that is so much because toxic positivity, which is just the utter bane of my existence. I hate it. I'm allowed to like hate my body, hate my life, and those kinds of things. But like I'm actively working towards it. But I'm allowed to have down days. I don't, like good vibes only. Shove it up your ass, Brenda. Nobody cares.
positive vibes.
Like the but like the idea of like you don't have to like be like thriving and doing great all the time. And like that again, it's like you can't win that battle. You can't win that battle and thrive every single day, especially when you feel like this. But like just surviving, like I'm talking bare minimum. We're on the floor, but like that is enough. Like
Yeah.
they haven't won yet. Like we're still winning the battle, even if we're just surviving, because like even a win is a win, even if it's just by a point. That matters.
Literally just a point. And again, bare minimum isn't like a bad thing either. Like you're allowed to do just the bare minimum to get through.
Exactly. And again, it's like this courageous thing, because it's a really hard thing to do. And I don't think people understand that. Like when people finally do, like, if they kill themselves and they've, cut their life short at the wrong moment, like the outpouring of like, oh, like must have been so hard and we loved them and they shouldn't have done this. Like they had a support system, and it's like, well, the realization that it's like actually this hard isn't there for the people that aren't going through it. And I think that's what's so intensely hard to understand for people that aren't actively going through it or that even know about it. Like it's really hard to like empathize with
Yeah.
people about it sometimes.
I was like, I will say, I always circle back to like music, like being a big influence in my life. Like there was a song by 21 Pilots called Neon Gravestones that they put out. It was basically about how like we, there was a line that was like, we'll mourn for a kid, but won't cry for a king. It was like,
Mhm.
it's like, it's sad when a child dies. Like they didn't have the chance, like they don't have the opportunity. Like maybe things aren't as hard because they are a kid. They have that naive optimism or whatever. But like
Mhm.
if someone's still feeling like these things like into their adulthood, they're like, oh, just go to therapy, just talk about it, just like do all these things. It's like you don't understand the weight of what certain people are going through still. And it's like you don't want to you're like kind of like putting them down until it's too late. And then you're like, oh, just kidding. We feel bad.
Exactly. And it's just one of those, that's the whole thing that like kills me. And you wonder why like people aren't like forthright and talk about it. And it's like half like I don't want to be locked away in the loony bin because like I'm not there yet.
And they're done that,
But
Kelly.
like it's because like these kinds of things like make people uncomfortable, and that in itself, like, you come to me and say like, hey, I'm having suicidal ideation, like I'm in a really bad place. Naturally that's going to make me uncomfortable, but the selfish thing is to like deflect off of that and be like, we're not going to visit that topic
Yeah.
today. It's like an incredibly like selfish thing to do when it's like anger or discomfort, like embrace and help. And again, like there's nothing wrong with saying like, well, what can I do to help, even if it's just to sit there
Yeah.
or do nothing or
Yeah.
leave me alone. It's like as long as you're safe, cool. And and I think that like it's like that discomfort and that selfishness of not wanting to like engage with that because it's a misunderstanding of things. I mean, look at people now. Everybody on the internet's like, I understand like making jokes out of trauma like helps. And I'm totally there. The amount of dead dad jokes I make in a single year is staggering. And most people would think it's very unhealthy, but it helps. And it's
Yeah.
like humor is like the best way for a lot of us. I mean, especially you.
I know. I was about to say, I was like,
You make about suicide is just intense.
my coworkers are very alarmed sometimes because it's just like they don't know me that well yet. So it's like I'll be like, oh, guess what? I'm just gonna go jump off the roof later. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, it's fine.
Like, no, it's
Like,
fine.
I'm not actually going to, but I want to.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but and so, but you see everybody, and it's like they use like the symptoms and everything. It's like a punchline of the joke without actually like taking anything seriously. Like making jokes about anxiety. It's like you can be anxious, but you don't necessarily have anxiety. They're two very different things.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, I'm so OCD because I wanted my pen straight on my desk. That's not OCD. OCD is I have to do the same thing the same exact way every single time, or something terrible is going to happen. I have to flip the white switch up and down 17 times, or somebody's going to kill my family. Like
Yeah.
that's OCD. OCD is intrusive thoughts, and it's scary. And it's not an adjective. It's not a description of your haha quirky habits.
It's on Instagram bio, it's like
Yeah, and it's just like a really weird thing. It's the same thing. It's like I recently well, not recently, like got diagnosed with bipolar 2. And it's like everybody's like, I'm so manic because I went to Taco Bell at midnight. And it's like, sweetie, that's not manic. I can promise you that. It's like, is your heart pounding like a mile a minute? Do you want to literally go spend all of your money and go do something that could literally wreck your entire life? It's like, I don't think it's manic.
I know. I've seen your manic episodes, and they are
Manic is intense.
yeah. Yeah, I will say that as kindly as I can.
I was like the way I described to my psychiatrist, because I'm levelly like medicated now, and I'm at like this point where it's like I still feel my up and downs. Like they're very visible and I can anticipate them. They're just not that bad. but like I just want to peak on the up just a little more.
I
And
know.
I described it, it's like holding in a sneeze because like I just want a little more, but I can't get it.
Right, exactly.
Because it's like the amount of productivity you can get with just a little bit of manic. It's like, oof, I could
Just a
really,
scooch more.
really reorganize this pantry right now.
Take an eighth off your meds. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's, but again, like it's become now, it's like the butt of a joke. But the thing is, nobody understands the actual joke. Like we've lost like the meaning of it because now it's like it's only been like the humor and the butt of the joke and nobody's actually talking about like what it means and the depth of the problem and like how absolutely serious it is. Like it's funny to make dead dad jokes. I'll do it all day long, but I can absolutely sit there and like remember like the traumas, the issues, like everything that's happened in the last almost 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Uh,
I know it's been that long. That's psychotic.
I know,
But
literally.
like in all that time, and it's like all the issues that I still deal with regularly because of that. Um, and it's like, but I can take that seriously and I understand that, and then I can make the jokes, but I'm not like, it's just insensitive. You know what I mean? Like what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at. It's just weird. So
Well, I mean, again, it's how people deal with their own traumas. Like some people won't make jokes about it because that's how they will handle it. And no matter what trauma they've gone through, they can, be stoic throughout life, or they can just move on with life. But like, again, coping mechanisms work for different people. So, like, my dad's not dead yet.
yeah,
Have I wished him to be dead? Yes. And some people think that's cruel, but that's my coping mechanism. Like when you have an abusive father who like abandoned you.
like what child born of trauma doesn't think that?
Exactly. Like if I had a dad that loved me and like, cared for me, it would be a different story. But I never had that. So I'm just tired of like his weight and his like past like weighing down on me still. I'm just over it.
And to make like those like to make like the haha funnies and things like that, like it absolutely like eases it. Like it's like okay, like I can shed it off the shoulders, which is why wanting to like not alive myself jokes are absolutely hilarious because it
Yes.
makes you it gives you some kind of power. And to like to turn it back to the poem, which another line that I loved that you wrote was let's see. So, and now an act of cowardice transforms, smoothing over rough edges. I can't win. My irreplaceable position now comes with a pink slip, signed by a limp wristed imbecile incapable of throwing a fucking punch. The pink slip line absolutely like it floored me. It made me laugh, but also it was like one of those, it's like, oh, because it's one of those like us making like those jokes.
Yeah.
It makes you feel powerful. Here's your pink slip, buddy.
Yeah. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And it's like absolutely like to me that's what I don't know how else to deal with trauma other than making jokes. That's what I've done.
Right.
What I learned as a child is like you make jokes about terrible situations because it makes you feel better.
Yeah. Laughter is like the joy. But I like that line because there's an irony to it. Because we talk about at the end, it's like there is no pink slip for death. He has a job for life. But it's like again, you give him that petulant attitude. He's like, "Oh, you're making me lose my job because you don't want to die, you asshole." And it's like, but again, you're taking away his power. Like it's like when you talk about your intrusive thoughts. Like I give my different intrusive thoughts different names, so that way, and I can I will make them sound different sometimes. Like one is a Karen for sure. I have a Barbara. Like they're the ones that I'm just like, shut up. Like you need to go away. But like you can give it different voices that it gives either takes away power or gives them more power.
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, these are our own thoughts. Like we wrote these down ourselves. So these are our thoughts. These are our intrusive thoughts. So maybe that's how I'm gonna view death from now on. That way I'm like, you're just a little kid I want to go kick in the street. Like that's how it is.
Exactly. And it's just so and it's to like get even like nerdier about it, but like it really reminds me of like Harry Potter, like the whole like Deathly Hallows thing, when it's like, the guy with the cloak and and then he greets death like an old friend. And it's like, and I think that's what we all want because like in these moments now, like at my age, like I'm not even 30, but like thinking those things, it's like I feel like I'm just kind of like surrendering myself, like, you know what, fine, take it, whatever. Like, and
Yeah.
it feels totally out of my control. And I think being the control freak that I am, it's like I want to meet that day, I think like 75, 80 would be appropriate. I was like, anything past that is just kind of gross.
Yeah, it's overkill, literally.
Like tapioca.
Yeah. I mean, I do like tapioca pudding, so
It is so good.
I'm ready for it.
Yes. But tapioca, mothballs, that kind of thing. It's time. But it's at that point where I think at that point, like there's no need to be afraid. We'll see what happens if that day comes. But
Yes.
it's like I want to feel control and I want to be the one to say like, okay, it's time. But like even making like the suicidal like decision, like I'm gonna kill myself. There's absolutely like the power that you think you have in that moment is not actually power. It's like surrendering to
Yeah.
the man over your shoulder who's whispering all these bad things in your ear, like whispering, you don't deserve this. You are a burden on the people that you love. Like it would just be easier if you weren't here. And it's like choosing the easy way is not courageous. Like it's you falling victim to the bad thoughts in your mind, which again, totally reasonable and we can all understand why it would happen. But that act of courage to be like, can you just not for a second and then just get about your day is immaculate.
Yeah. And like it's hard to like as much as I will obviously joke about it and like feel something about it, but like I have to like recognize with myself that I've actually I've fought those moments and like I've had those I'm still here after so unfortunately so many attempts. It's wild at this point.
I know, and I think that's the thing is like, and I mean, incredibly proud because like where I was and like how far into the ideation that I got was nowhere near. I mean, you've been like on the brink, like ready to go, and still decided like, mind you, I don't think it was necessarily like
it was not conscious. It was not a conscious choice.
It was some beautiful magic that forced like the wheels in motion to stop. And it's a beautiful thing that it's like, and you get to come back and go like, okay, like let me revisit this. Do we actually feel this way? Do we actually want this?
Yeah.
And again, you make all these jokes, but it's like that's the beauty of it, and that's something I can respect so much. Is like as much as you make the jokes, like you'll absolutely have that very serious conversation about like, what am I feeling? Why do I feel like this? Like, understanding the implications of all of the thoughts. And it makes it so much easier. And it's one of those like, wow, I wish everybody like had I guess it's also courage to like talk about it.
I was about to say, yeah, it's definitely like people, I think they're just too scared because the society has created like a stigma around mental health. Like you don't talk about it. If you have it, you're just sad. It's like, there's no like weight of seriousness to it. And so therefore people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about it then because no one's going to take it seriously.
Nobody's going to get it anyways. Yeah. Because, and a lot of it is just like, it's false information. It's irresponsible tropes in all facets of media, whether that be books, TV, movies. Like the way that they depict these things is like a far end on either side of like a stereotype, which is just like damning to people. Like depression is not like my whole life is sad from the moment I wake up to the time I go to sleep and I'm just in this pit of depression and I can't do anything. You have spurts of that. Like, yeah. It's an episode. That doesn't mean that like when you're totally happy and like you feel normal, that doesn't mean that you still don't have depression. It just means like you're now like up on your like normal plateau. And it's the same thing like bipolar. It's like I'm not up and down multiple times in a day. It's like I go up, I could sit there for a few weeks, and then sometimes I hit a middle and I really stride on that middle for a really long time, and you go back down.
Yeah.
And it's just they really, and of course, it's media, so the drama, that's what sells. And so it's really hard to like accurately depict these things. And so that's all that people think there is because that's what they're consuming. And so they're like, that's depression. That's not what it is.
Like she's a little quirky and sad.
Well,
But like, it's funny that we're talking about me because now all in my head, I want to write a sitcom where it's a suicidal person and death, like I was roommates. And then every time he's like, maybe tonight, and he's like, are you sure?
That is so beautifully, like, I would love that. I would think that's funny. The people are not ready for that.
No, they would not be.
That's like some like exclusively like Prime Video.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Netflix. Netflix ain't ready for that. Netflix isn't gonna like that's like
HBO After Dark.
Yeah.
After Dark.
Yeah. Or Comedy Central cartoon.
Love it. Oh my God, a Big Mouth style cartoon where it's just about suicide.
It would be beautiful. It would be beautiful. But no, yeah, like death, like you have like this just like petulant little child of a grim reaper. And then just
he's like 4'8". He's 4'8". Death is 4'8".
Having him like be like a really like little stout little like just like a fucking like turd. He looks like a soda can.
Yes. And then, yeah, like the 6 foot quirky, like mentally ill. He has to be British.
Yes. It's like, because that would just make him more annoying to petulant little death.
Yeah, exactly.
Petulant
death is like a New Yorker, maybe, or something, like a Boston person.
So he's just always angry all the time, always has an attitude about something.
Yeah.
Because God forbid they be happy in their lives.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable to show joy, even for a minute. How dare you?
How dare you?
Forgetting your roots.
Like, you just see him having like a good day and the death's in the corner, like on a rain cloud, like, man, he's happy. That's what he would say. He'd say, fuck off.
That would be a beautiful adult cartoon. Love it.
It would be hilarious.
Yes. Oh my God. It's like
I will call it Fisticuff Fools. That will be the title of the show.
Mark Wahlberg could play Death. He's got a great Boston accent.
That would be hilarious.
I can't think of the guy. He's very, very tall and slender, and he's British.
Andrew Garfield?
No, I'm talking like very tall. I can't think of his name. He was one of the writers for not writers. He was a producer of The Office, like the American Office, because he had like a play in the British Office. I think it's John Merchant. Hold on, I'm gonna find out.
Let's find out, shall
we? Or
we?
David Merchant, one of the two.
It's a Merchant for sure.
Yeah, it is. I know that much. Okay, not John Merchant. John Merchant's some weird. Okay. Stephen Merchant.
I need to look him up. I don't.
Like he's tied to he's like very tall and lanky. Like I'm talking like skinny and like 6'7".
I know him.
Oh my God, he is 6'7". I just guessed.
Ooh, girl.
Yes, mom.
Look at that knowledge stayed in your brain.
Power.
I'm gonna ask you why you do it, okay?
Okay.
Why do you do it?
Power. My unpainted nails just.
I know. Look at us. Look at us being white.
I will not Jodie Foster this behavior.
I have 100% time for that joke.
Oh my God, this is too much.
I know. This has been great.
I was like, we could go on and on, just like repeating that show, like
episode one.
Just oh my God.
1-800. We could help you, but we won't.
Best line, because I think that 100% would be us. Is like, yeah, we can help you, but we won't.
We're not going.
We have our own shit to deal with. We're good.
As you can see, we have our own shit to go. Yeah.
Like we have enough depression for the two of us. We don't need yours. Thank you, though.
But thank you for asking.
Thank you for your audition. We'll call you.
Our people will call your people.
We don't have people, so nobody's gonna call your people.
My people are Barbara and Karen in my brain. Those are the people.
I was like, I just have the one on the shoulder. That's about it. Like he doesn't do much. He just.
Good. He said, "Hi." Hi. What are you doing? Do you want to go to the cliffside later?
Just go go for a little swim, but don't come back up.
Don't come back.
Those lead shoes I bought you.
Don't bring your floaties.
It's like, leave your cell phone at home. We're gonna go for a jog, and that jog's gonna end up in a lake. But again, don't forget the lead shoes, that cute little brick bracelet I bought you.
A little bag for your head to suffocate yourself.
Oh Lord, we're traumatizing however many people will watch this.
Don't worry, I'm gonna put trigger warnings at the beginning of this.
Like, very inappropriate jokes coming because they don't know how to control themselves.
Two petulant childs don't know how to cope with their trauma.
I wouldn't call us petulant.
No, I know it was immature.
No, we are mature. We can talk about our problems in a very serious manner.
We're
just funny. We're comedians.
We're comedians. We're going on the road soon. Catch our tour in 2022.
I don't think anybody would come and watch that. They'd just be like, oh. Like cricket chirping.
Yeah.
And you hear people audibly groaning.
Like, who are these idiots?
I saw a video on TikTok and it was like, who got like basically like shit on in the beginning, but it turns out they were right. And I can't remember the man's name, but he was like on stage for like the Streamy Awards, and he's bashing Shane Dawson for being in blackface all the time. It's like, does everybody remember when Shane Dawson was in blackface for like a whole year? And then everybody was like, he's like, don't you remember Shanae? And I was like,
yes. And I feel like an asshole because I used to watch those videos in high school. So.
Oh, it's okay. It's like, but we've learned, we grow, we acknowledge our issues, and then we talk about it, and then we do better. And
no one cancel me. No one cancel me. I'm doing better.
We can acknowledge our issues.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Acknowledging the problems. We have lots.
I know. Yeah, I mean, how much time do we have left? Because I can acknowledge them for days.
I know you were being serious for a moment. Like, how much time do we actually have left?
I have all day, baby. I have all day.
We have a child. So I have an hour and a half for his nap.
Oh, I see. That's fair. Well, I was like, if anything, we could cut the recording here. We could still talk afterwards. Well, behind the scenes scoops for the kids, but we could cut the recording here. That way, yeah. I think you touched on the piece very well. You're very eloquently spoken, so you're very. You are. I was like, wow, she sounds smart.
Thanks. I paid too much for a degree that doesn't matter.
Welcome to the world.
We love being known debt.
Yeah, but thank you, Kellie, for coming to the Hideaway, and maybe we'll do a collab again someday. Who knows?
Yes, please. I would love to.
Let's fill up the Google Drive with more ideas.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming to the Hideaway.
Bye.